Hello everyone, this is Juan Lobetz and welcome to my presentation on Arizona. Believe it or not, Arizona is more than just a Grand Canyon state. There's much more to it than just cacti and tumbleweeds. We'll be talking today specifically about three distinct wine regions: Sonita, Wilcox, and the Verde Valley. First, we'll begin with a little bit of background history about wine in the Wild West. This can be split into two main eras. The first would be the Spanish colonial era, where many claim that Jesuit missionary Father Asuelo Francisco Kino planted the first plantings of the mission grape for use in sacraments throughout the state. Although many purport plantings prior to 1700, there's little to sparse evidence of this. First production winery in the state was founded in 1884 by Samuel and Daniel Bagley, with about 3 to 4 more being of any prominence in 1890. Wines were actually of such standard and high quality that famous founder of the San Gabriel Wine Co. in California, James DeBarchaud, was quoted as saying that Arizona wine was equal age for age with that of California. Moving towards the modern era, so post-Prohibition, there was little to no wine being produced in Arizona until Dr. Gordon Dutt, known as the father of modern wine industry in Arizona, a soil scientist from UC Davis, moved to the University of Arizona and began a research project. At that time, the current opinion of many Californian winemakers was that climate was everything when it came to grape. Dr. Dutt was of the opinion that soil played a much greater part, and that if you wanted to change the climate, you could simply go up or down a hill, depending whether you wanted it warmer or cooler climate. He planted his first vineyard in 1972 at elevation of 3,680 feet at Page Ranch in Sonita, Arizona. Moving forward to the late 90s, early 2000s, what really brought Arizona to the attention of winemakers around the world and wine enthusiasts around the world was an unlikely partnership between a rock star and a scientist. That being Maynard James Keenan on the right-hand side. On the left, he's the frontman of the progressive rock band Tool and a Grammy award-winning artist. He paired up with Eric Glomsky on the right-hand side, who was a riparian ecologist who fell in love with the Verde Valley while he was doing his PhD. So the first AVA we're talking about is the Sonita AVA that was established in 1984. This is where Dr. Dutt planted his first vineyards in the early 70s. This is located just north of the Mexican border and spans 3 counties of Santa Cruz, Pima, and Cochise, in between 3 mountain ranges of Santa Rita, Uchuca, and Whetstone. Although it is still very warm, it is considered the coolest of all the AVAs and regions in Arizona, as it is the highest elevation. These high elevation plantings mostly on flat plateaus, face north and east, and consist of sandy loam soils and volcanic pumice. These soils comprise well-draining soils that tend to be very alkaline, so special considerations to soil amendments must be taken to acidify to make sure healthy vines exist. So major wine styles and winemakers in the Sonita AVA. With everything in Arizona, you got to think diurnal temperature fluctuations, as most of the regions are located in high arid desert regions. So think diurnal temperature fluctuations here. So Sonita produces mostly full-body red wines with structure and balance from many Spanish, Italian, and Bordeaux varieties such as Grenache, Sangiovese, Tempranillo, and some Bordeaux reds as well as some white wines that are semi-sweet and off-dry from Riesling and Chardonnay or Sauv Blanc. Most vines are cordon-trained and irrigated vineyards typically yield about 2.5 acres, or 2.5 tons per acre. Notable producers are Sonita Vineyards, founded by Dr. Gordon Dutt, of course, Callahan Vineyards with winemakers Lisa and Kent Callahan, as well as Dos Cabezas Wineworks and Flying Leap Vineyards. Next, we'll be talking about Wilcox AVA, which was the most recent to be established as an official AVA in 2016. So if we move east of Sonita, we will find Wilcox AVA, which spans across two counties of, again, Cochise and Graham counties, just north of the Sulphur Spring Valley and what is known as the Wilcox Bench. Wilcox AVA is surrounded by 5 different mountain ranges, and this high desert plateau is at 4,500 feet above sea level in a broad, shallow basin with an average slope of less than 2%. So think very flat, high altitude but flat. This AVA has 4 main soil types that can be found, known as Sonita, Forest, Friar, and Tubac, which are all alluvial and co-alluvial soils. Types composed of sandy loam, which are typically balanced in content of sand, silt, and clay, which are free draining. Wilcox AVA by far is the largest in planting in the state at 454 acres, producing around 70% of the state's fruit. So that's still quite small, but in terms of Arizona, it is gigantic. Some notable wine styles and winemakers of Wilcox. So you see a lot of Mediterranean and Bordeaux varietals being planted here, deeply concentrated, fruit-forward wines with moderate to high ABV are presented with structure and balanced. Again, think diurnal temperature fluctuations. Some say as much as 50 degrees Fahrenheit between day and night, so you can really think slow ripening and slow maturing fruit here. The most well-known winery in the state, can be found in Wilcox, and is known as the Arizona Strongholds. Remember that rock star and scientist I mentioned 2 moments ago? Yeah, they're the co-founders of the Arizona Strongholds, which can be found in up to 38 states. Although the duo did split up in 2014 and split the business up quite evenly. Other notable winemakers would be Sam Pillsbury, a former Hollywood and New Zealand film director who found and is the founder of the Pillsbury Wine Company. He makes organic, terroir-driven wine from many Rhone varietals such as Syrah, Mourvedre, and Grenache. Next, we'll be talking about a potential new AVA, and we are talking, of course, here of the Verde Valley. This is the newest region to achieve acclaim in the States, and yeah, it's undergoing certification for establishment as we speak. It's located in north-central Arizona between the Mingus Mountains and the west, and to the west, the Red Rocks of Sedona. Having a mere 125 acres under vine, you will find that most vineyards are on terrace plantings with slopes from 5 to 30%, depending on locations. You'll even see vineyards as small as half an acre. So think a lot of small lot wines being produced here. Because of this difficult degree of slope and the remoteness of many of these vineyard sites, it is purported that a single acre of vineyards can cost about $35,000 US to plant. So a lot of money is being invested into this. Out of all the regions in Arizona, the Verde Valley, which literally translates to the Green Valley from Spanish, receives the most amount of precipitation than any other wine-producing region in Arizona, between 16 to 18 inches, albeit mainly during monsoon season, so that's from July to August. Due to the high altitude, frost is a serious concern for growers in late winter to early fall. On a side note, since vineyards are located in this remote desert valley where food and water is limited, growers must contend with pervasive wildlife threat as they're drawn literally for miles around to vineyard sites like a magnet because it literally might just be the only food source. Two main soil types of the Verde Valley are alluvial limestone and sandstone deposits interlaced with volcanic pumice. These soils are deep and free-draining. Because of all these unique conditions, many parallels have been drawn in the Verde Valley between Mediterranean regions as well as the left bank Bordeaux. And of course the high altitude deserts of Chile and Argentina. In the Verde Valley, you'll find wines produced in small lots from hand-picked fruit, typically in organic and biodynamic vineyards. Because of the various soil, elevation, and microclimates, many wines produced from these vineyards are terroir-driven wines of good concentration, show good minerality and overall balance. Since each site is unique and the Verde Valley's region is still in its infancy, many winemakers have experimented with plantings and wine styles from everything from full-bodied Mediterranean-inspired reds, wonderfully aromatic whites, sweet dessert wines, and believe it or not, there has even been a select vintage of ice wine in particular years. Remember the Arizona stronghold that I told you about in the Wilcox? Well, there two winemakers found their roots in the Verde Valley, having their own wineries, where Eric Golomsky is the proprietor of Page Spring, as well as the Arizona Stronghold, and Maynard James Keenan is the owner of Caduceus Cellar, as well as Merkin Vineyards, and has brought substantial notoriety to Arizona because he essentially purchased the town of Jerome, starting many small businesses aside from his winery and his tasting rooms to restaurants, as well as record stores, barbershops, you name it. He's pretty much brought life back to this, what was once almost a ghost town. So, where does the future of Arizona lie? So, recent establishment of the Arizona Vignerons Alliance is setting stage for labeling qualifications and standards on Arizona wines produced by 100% Arizona fruit. So think VQA, but in Arizona. As well as implementation of a new enology and viticulture program at the Yavapai College in the Verde Valley. It was established in 2008. And they also have a small teaching winery and vineyard on a small 13-acre plot that's also above 2,000 meters. So pretty exciting. So my final thoughts on Arizona. I kind of really am intrigued by this. I kind of find a juxtaposition of what Niagara region used to be, as it is still pretty much in its early stages of establishments, although Niagara is probably about 10, 20 years ahead of time. But I think the future looks very bright, and we can expect to see truly exceptional wines coming from this AVA in the future. Because of its distinct cultural past, very terroirs, progressive and forward-thinking industry leaders. Yeah, keep your eye out for some Arizona wines, because I'm sure they'll be very, very interesting. But thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Have a great day.